Arise analyst Frank Tietie joins us now in the studio to take a look at the stories. Frank, thank you so much for being here. And of course, let's start from the top to bottom. And let's start with the fact that Edo State, we're happy. The security operatives seem to be working. We've seen, 12 being released just yesterday, 7 during the course of the week, and some, of course, did escape when that unfortunate incident did happen last week, Saturday. But, the number of those who were abducted is still shaky because security operatives will tell you, oh, it was 30. Well, reports from the beginning said about 60. But even the Railway Corporation will tell you we're not so sure because we still write the number of passengers manually on a book. But irrespective of that, do you think we're seeing enough move by not just the corporation, but also from the federal government to ensure that this does not happen again? Because some would say it's one attack too many on our infrastructure.
Oh, yes, it did. And the good thing is that we are recording positive reports that a number of persons have been rescued. Nobody thought that could happen because it's the railways in those areas were very much celebrated, and they thought that the enemies would not repeat what happened in the Abuja-Kaduna railway attack. Again, the Commissioner of Police has said that because it's easy to localize the scene of the crime and where those the victims are possibly kept at this moment, it's also a very good ray of hope. We haven't done much, but I know that Fide Ohira has been working quite hard even before this happened, and it should be given credit for getting our trains on track right from the start. He has never dilly-dallied when it comes to his responsibility. Unfortunately, this one was not. He didn't see this one coming, and it happened in the place where he should have actually exhibited more interest, at those states where he actually comes from.
He's that particular from Igwebe,
yes, so who knows whether the motive for that particular attack and the sabotage on the part of those who should have known better. However, it has actually happened, and I'm confident that more proactive steps will be taken to prevent such from happening again.
Well, it must be kudos to the security operatives, the combined team coordinated by the Commissioner of Police.
Yeah, he speaks so confidently, and he's able to, and that's a very good thing, to be able to say that he knows where they are, and so he's actually, planning in such a manner to avoid collateral damage. If not, he knows that his men are able to sweep that area and actually get all the persons involved, the victims rescued. But how would you do that without taking the life of any of those victims? I think that is his headache at this moment.
Collateral damage, really.
Absolutely. Let's quickly look at the some people are already saying the wild Imo states, particularly in is it Olu senatorial zone or Idiato and the rest, and the mayhem, the arson committed just about 24 hours ago, and so soon the governor, the chief executive of the state, says he has security reports, evidence, when even the police has not issued a statement.
Of course, he's the chief security officer, so supposedly of the state. But I think the Igbo people have been quite unfortunate, and the Southeast is actually going through a very trying moment at this time. However, this is an example of political violence. And, how do you analyze political violence? First, who are those who will benefit if it ever happens? And who are those who are responsible for preventing it, who actually did not? So the governor is actually in the center of this whole happening. Now, it's sad that security agencies, particularly state agencies, I'm not talking about state, I'm talking about the Nigerian state security agencies, have not come to realize that it's important to protect opposition figures, especially in a political era that we have now. Because if you don't do that, it comes back against to haunt the government that you're trying to protect. Now, take example of what happened to General Buhari before he became president in 2014, that Kawo attack in Kaduna. Recently he was paying tribute to Kwankwaso for giving him gifting him an armored vehicle. Imagine what would have happened to Goodluck Jonathan as president. That would have been crass irresponsibility on his part if General Buhari had died. You know, so Buhari now as president should know that his legacy in this twilight of his administration is to ensure that there is free, fair, credible, and safe elections.
Which
now,
he keeps drumming.
But
anyway.
but that will not happen. That will not happen if you find opposition figures at the mercy of their enemies being taken out all the time. Now, what is happening to Gochieri Imo is unprecedented. A man in his home state, others who want to contest in the southeast are campaigning from Abuja, but the man went there, such a courageous fellow, and then the bad thing about it is that he even issued warning and that he got threats that he would be attacked, and nothing was done. You see, it is important that for government to understand. Take, for example, the presidential election, if anything happens to Peter Obi. So it will now have to take a fellow who has approached the Federal High Court now, asking that the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of the DSA to provide security for Peter Obi. We understand. The convention is that it is only when you become a president-elect or a governor-elect before the state will provide security for you. But consider the overall interest of the state. What will happen to the president? What will happen to the legacy of the president if Peter Obi is attacked? What will happen to the impression that will be had of Governor Hope Uzodinma if that continually happens in Imo State? For goodness sake, he is the one who's responsible for preventing
he
that.
definitely is the chief security officer of the state. But Frank, well, even if we're not going to dabble so much on the accusation and counter-accusation, like you have said, Ugochinyere had allayed fears that, you know what, my life is being threatened. But for the fact that we're even hailing him for going to campaign at home, what does that tell us about the security, not just in Imo State or in Idiato where this happened, but of the Southeast in general? Because aside from his home, remember INEC officers have also been targeted in that zone as well. Let's talk about the implication of all of this, especially as we look forward to the elections, which are barely 6 weeks away.
You know, the International Crisis Group has been quite concerned about Nigeria. And we've had worse times than this. We've had the Northeast, we had the Borno State, we had the Yobe and Damawa that were totally under siege. A number of local governments, numbering about 27, were being under the control of Boko Haram. Yet elections went on nationally. Yet elections went on in those places largely. So I don't think that we should give up on Imo State or the Southeast in general. However, I see a sort of dereliction of duty on the part of those who should, against all odds, provide security in the Southeast. The might of the state should not be tested to a point where, as a matter of reality, people are giving up. It shouldn't be, especially in the Southeast. You know, so the assurance that should come from the government, particularly the governor, is not coming. And then that, you know...
He has set up a committee to look into the incident.
No, committees. Committees are what they are in Nigerian parlance. You see, that gusto that should should be exhibited by the security agencies concerning the Southeast, it's not there. And that's what worries us. It appears that as if the region is being abandoned to its fate or some elements who want to destabilize the polity in that area. You see, it's the failure of the state in providing security. That is what we do not want to accept concerning Imo State. And that's the reason why Ugochinyere Imo should be commended. After all, he went there and trusting that he could provide security for himself. But I think he was hoping too much, and that would have cost him his life. You know, we need to get to a point where there should be extraordinary assurances from the state players, particularly the governor. The governor is missing it when he says he's in possession of intelligence. Intelligence is meant to prevent the happening of an event, and not for you to explain the event when it has happened. How come he has so much intelligence and could not protect the life of his citizen? It doesn't matter whether he belongs to an opposition party. It's the most important thing is that in the long run, we're all citizens of Nigeria, all citizens of Imo State. Protect them. Show yourself as a responsible leader, a governor or a president in this case.
And what does this speak of the agitation for state police?
Oh, well, you know, we've over-belabored that matter. So it is an election year.
That labor is not inexhaustible. I ask this because, I mean, it's agreed constitutionally that the governors are the chief executives of their states. And I'm asking this, if you have a situation of state police, what will happen?
You see, the expectation of state police is a matter of responsibility. If you give political power to a personality like a governor. The people that voted him in should expect that he should exercise power to protect them. He should exercise force to protect them. So this idea of making a governor, so impotent, to just be chairing security meetings where he cannot actually give operational directions to the police to protect his own people is actually a problem. But you see, the terms of giving expectations, what would the people expect of a governor in terms of, the challenge, the demand on the authorities, the Commissioner of Police, starting from the Commissioner of Police, also the Inspector General of Police, that protect my people at all costs, irrespective of whether they are opposition figures or whether or not you don't like them or they don't like you. Just protect them. This is how we can collectively have a safe and secure Nigeria. But when we over-politicize these issues, especially security, to the extent that if it's happening to opposition figures, you don't care. But if it's happening to those of your party, you do everything possible. You run to the president, to run to Aso Villa and say, please, you've got to do something urgent. No, it shouldn't be so.
All right, thank you so very much. No better place to drop the anchor. Frank Tietie, Arise analyst and rights lawyer there.